Hello, good evening and warm welcome at the Thinking Palette platform. In this video, I will discuss the Test-6 where the question was from the internal security and science and technology. We will discuss each and every question in a comprehensive way so that it will be easy for you to understand that what to write and what not to write. So here is the first question, that though the terrorism and the organized crime can be differentiated, but symbiotic relation cannot be denied. Discuss the problems in the control efforts and suggest some measures to control the organized crime. So in introduction, what you can do, you can just talk about in a very simple terms that terrorism and organized crime have symbiotic relation as terrorist needs supply of arms and ammunition, needs supply of arms and ammunition, and organized group needs money, and this is the basis for their symbiotic relationship. And the question is also telling that their symbiotic relation cannot be denied. So we will also look into that what is the symbiotic relation. But before that, we need to mention very briefly that how they are differentiated. So basically, this first line is talking about the difference between the terrorism and organized crime. Then you can say that terrorism and organized crime, you can use the table form also, and can say that organized crime is motivated by profit or greed and terrorism is motivated by ideology. Second, you can say that the basic objective of organized crime is to have the economic goal, and here the basic objective of the terrorism is to seek or get political ends. Then you can say that organized crime select the targets and then they attack. Here in terrorism, they are selecting the symbolic targets, for example the monuments, for example the institution of national importance, for example the parliament. So basically here the symbolic target is the main aim of the terrorism. Here they avoid public attention, but in terrorism they are basically looking or seeking for public attention. So basically whenever you are talking about all these points, you are meeting the demand of this, that it can be differentiated. Now you can say that however it can be differentiated, there is symbiotic relation. So now the question is how you will establish the symbiotic relation. It can be established if you know some of the examples where the organized crime and the terrorism have come together. So I can write it down here that there is a relation between terrorism and drug dealers. And the best example for this is Madrid train attack. Madrid train attack of 2003. It is to mention here that Pakistan has started to fund the terror organization by pushing narcotics and the drug money in Jammu and Kashmir and Punjab. So basically, at one time, you are giving the international example and also you are giving the national example of Pakistan and how the entire network of the narcotics and the drug money is infusing the terrorism in Jammu and Kashmir. Second, you can give the example of terrorism and fake currency note. Terrorism and fake currency note. Here again, you can simply say that how the Pakistan is using Nepal, Bangladesh, UAE to infuse or to send the fake currency into the Indian territory, and that fake currency is being used for the terrorist attack. And for that, I can give you the best example is Hyderabad blast of 2000. Hyderabad blast of 2007. Here, the National Investigating Agency has said that approximately 50 million rupees has been spent by the terrorist for the Hyderabad blast, and also 3 million spent by the terrorist for the attack on Indian Institute of Science in 2005, and both the money were generated by the fake currency agents. So these are the examples which you can mention in your answer here. And now you have basically fulfilled the two demands or fulfilled the demand of the first statement of the question. Now we are moving into the second statement, that what is the problem in control effort, because it is being said कि पुलिस सब कुछ जानती है. Even after that, why the organized crime is persisting or continuing? The very first challenge is there is inadequate legal force or legal structure. इसका मतलब ये है कि India does not have the special law to control or suppress the organized crime. Second, you can talk about difficulties in obtaining the proof. For example, difficulties in obtaining proof. Because the organized criminal groups are structured in hierarchical manner, even when you or police catch any person who is involved in organized crime, it is very difficult to get the proof because the main or the person who is behind the handling of entire network, the police cannot reach to them. So this is the second problem, that difficulty in obtaining proof. Third is lack of resource and training with the police. This is the major problem, lack of resource and training. Next issue is lack of coordination between the state level or city level police and with the national level agency, that is NIA. And you can also say that the lack of coordination between the central enforcement agency and a state enforcement agency. And what is the impact of lack of coordination? That lack of intelligence gathering or lack of information gathering. Okay. And the next issue is you can talk about the nexus between the criminal and politicians. We all know that there has been a rapid spread and the growth of criminal gangs, drug mafias, smuggling gangs, drug peddlers, economic lobbyists in the country, and it is only because of extensive network of contacts between the bureaucrats, politician, media persons, everyone is involved, and the entire network, that is the major issue or challenge in tackling the entire organized crime. So now we are moving into the last part of the demand of the question is what are the measures which you can suggest to control the organized crime. So here the measures which you can mention is, first I can talk about that we need to focus upon the use of technology, and here you can give the example of CCTNS. Then you can say that we need to follow the United Nations Drug and Crime Office framework, because this is giving the framework to look into that how we can analyze the data and modus operandi of the organized criminal groups. Okay. Third thing, you can say that law like Maharashtra Control of Organized Crime Act is required in each and every state. Then you can say the police department should be given training. Police department needs training, and we need to increase the resource for the police personnel. Then you can talk about that most of the crimes are communicated through internet, thus the cyber security needs to be strict and under continuous surveillance. These are the things which you can mention in your answer, and in this way you have addressed the four parts of the question. Because it is a 15 marker question, so I have talked about that you need to address this part also briefly, and majorly this part in an extensive manner. Understood? Again, this is a 15 marker question. That is, the complex process of money laundering has made the efforts to crack it very complex. Discuss the impacts of money laundering and suggest how technology can check the menace of money laundering. So the very first thing which you need to know, that what is the process of money laundering. However, you don't need to elaborate the process of the money laundering, and for that I will give you one diagram which you can use in your answer directly. But before that, just in introduction, you can define that what is money laundering. So basically, money laundering is the processing of criminal proceeds to disguise their illegal origin. मान लो कि कोई पैसा मैक्सिको से आया, ड्रग पेडलर्स का पैसा है. ओके. So basically, we all know that the money which is coming from drug peddlers is of illegitimate source. illegitimate source. And to turn into the legitimate source, what you are required to do, that you will have to infuse that money into the banking system. This is money laundering. But how all this happens, this is the complex process which you need to mention in your answer. First of all, I am just drawing this four box or block diagram which you can use in your answer. The very first thing is underlying crime. समझाता हूं मैं क्या है ये सारा कुछ. Underlying crime. Second is placement. Third is layering. And fourth is integration. Okay. Now, understand from this perspective that there is an arms trafficking in US. And one got approximately 1 million rupees through the arms trafficking. Now, this cash will be smuggled across the border and deposited in the bank account. अब ये 1 मिलियन रुपीस वो लोग बैंक अकाउंट में डाल देंगे, लेकिन अगर 1 बिलियन एक साथ बैंक में आएगा तो it will come under the scanner of the bank officer. So what they are doing, that they are sending money first to the cell company. और ये लेयरिंग हो गई, पहले सेल कंपनी में चली गई, 50 सेल कंपनी में मान लो 1 मिलियन चला गया, तो now this 1 million will be divided into the 50 company, and now if it is infusing into the bank or banking system, then it will not come under the scanner of the bank officers easily. And the last one is integration. Here what will happen, that this cell company will buy some property, कुछ प्रॉपर्टी ये बाई कर लेंगे, और दैट प्रॉपर्टी विल बी द लेजिटिमेट प्रॉपर्टी. ठीक है, तो क्या किया कि आर्म्स ट्रैफिकिंग यूएस में मान लो 1 मिलियन कमाए ये लोग, ये पैसा स्मगल हुआ, बैंक में डिपॉजिट हुआ, डिपॉजिट के बाद कैसे हुआ डिपॉजिट, ये सेल कंपनी के थ्रू डिपॉजिट हुआ, उसके बाद कुछ पैसा बैंक में आ गया, कुछ पैसा का इन्होंने रियल एस्टेट बिजनेस में पैसा लगा दिया. तो दिस इज द एंटायर प्रोसेस ऑफ द मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग. नाउ the second part of the question is talking about that discuss the impact of the money laundering on the socio-economic conditions of India. So now we are moving to the next part. The process of placement, you don't need to talk about everything in details because this is not the demand of the question. So now impact. Impact is very first talk, you can talk about economic impact. Economic impact में क्या होगा कि it will allow the drug peddlers, it will allow the smugglers to continue and expand their operation. Okay, and if they are expanding the operation, then what will happen, that the productivity of the economy will get hampered. Secondly, what will happen, that the government will have to make an expenditure to strengthen its law enforcement infrastructure. अब देखो, if the government is expanding on the law enforcement infrastructure, then it simply means that the government will reduce its expenditure on the social indicators or social infrastructure. ठीक है, अब देखो जब सोशल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर पे रिड्यूस हो गया गवर्नमेंट का एक्सपेंडिचर, देन इट विल इंपैक्ट द हेल्थ एंड एजुकेशन इन द लॉन्गर टर्म. पहला तो प्रॉब्लम ये हो गया. सेकंड इशू हो गया कि whenever in a society, whenever youth looks into the another youth or its peers and finds that he is enjoying a very lively life, then basically it will attract the another group of the youth or the peer members to join such profitable business like drug smuggling and this drug smuggling, arms smuggling, everything. So basically it is a diversion of the demographic dividend. The next problem you can make an assessment of financial sector, that the consumer trust is fundamental to the growth of the financial institution, and whenever there is a risk of the growth of financial institution, and whenever there is a risk to depositors and the investors, corruption, fraud, everything is happening, basically it will erode the trust of the people in the financial system. But that will impact the entire economic system, and this is the way through which the social system is also being impacted. Understood? So now the next thing is how you are using the technology to check the problem of money laundering. If I ask you a very simple question that how you can check the money laundering, it will be very easy for you to mention that legal efforts, technological efforts, international collaboration, you can easily write. But here I have narrowed down the question and I've asked about how the use of technology is of helpful. Then you can simply say that use of technology can be seen in intelligent segmentation. मैं बताता हूँ ये होता क्या है. Intelligent segmentation. Second is data visualization. Basically, you are using the big data analytics plus machine learning plus artificial intelligence plus blockchain. And the benefits of this technology is in intelligent segmentation, data visualization, behavioral profiling. इंटेलिजेंट सेगमेंटेशन में क्या होता है कि आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस विल एनालाइज द ट्रांजैक्शन, observe the patterns and will create new and relevant segments and will place the customers according to their behavior. Likewise, data visualization में क्या होगा? With the advanced use of the graphical representation, the compliance team and the senior management can see the comprehensive dashboards derived from the large amount of the transactional data. देखो उतना याद नहीं रहेगा तुम्हें. Just you can say कि the impact of the technology can be seen in the intelligent segmentation, data visualization, behavioral profiling. इसका फायदा क्या होता है? एंड ये है कि you will have to go for the risk management. Credible risk management is very much important. Then you can also talk about that use of blockchain and how the use of blockchain can give the rise of a smart contracts. And this way it will help in checking the entire menace of the money laundering. तो ये हो गया the discussion of the second question where we have discussed each and every part in the detail that how it is impacting and how the technology will help in checking the money laundering. Now coming to the third question, that is the social media is emerging as a new internal security threat for India, which necessitates the law enforcement agency should also use social media as an opportunity. This is the first question. Second question is also discuss the recent IT intermediaries guidelines rules 2018. Actually here I should write draft IT. Actually we have the guidelines of 2011 and draft IT intermediaries guidelines amendment rule 2018. So now first of all we will look into the impact of the social media on the internal security threats. देखो, to answer this question it is very easy to understand and comprehend that what can be put in the answer, but at the same time it is very difficult to put the answer from the perspective of compartmentalizing or using the subheadings in your answer. जैसे मैंने देखा internal security threat, something which comes into my mind is hate speech. How the hate speech can lead to the internal security threat. Then I can talk about Naxalism. Then I can talk about communalism. Then I can talk about lone wolf attack. अगर तुमने आंसर में ये लिख दिया कि सोशल मीडिया कैसे ये थ्रेट है इन सब चीजों को लेकर, then half of the problem will get solved. Then you can talk about fake news. Then you can talk about revenge videos. Okay. Now revenge videos are mostly used for blackmailing the women, particularly blackmailing the children. So basically revenge videos are also resulting into one kind of internal security threat. Now the very first thing is hate speech. तो अब तो ये तो बहुत ही सिंपल है. You can see that there is a growing trend of trolling, threatening, systematic online and offline abuse of the activist, journalist, individual. अभी भी देखो, अभी जो मतलब कॉमेडियंस लोगों ने जो शिवाजी महाराज के अगेंस्ट में उन्होंने जो बोला, तो दैट इज एंटायरली रॉन्ग एंड नॉट एक्सेप्टेबल एट ऑल. बट हाउ द पीपल आर थ्रेटनिंग हर फॉर द रेप, how the people are trolling, how the people are using it systematic offline abuse of the comedians. And this is not only about the comedians, this is also about the activists, journalists, and everyone, especially women. And also there are a variety of reasons on the basis of which hate speech is propagated. For example, hate speech is propagated on the basis of gender, on the basis of sexual orientation, on the basis of ideology, on the basis of religious beliefs. These are the things on the basis of which hate speech is propagated. Now, Naxalism. Now, in the social media, some of the people will highlight that the Naxalis are warriors and the government are oppressor. And whenever any media or any section of media highlights the Naxalist as warriors, or I should say openly, that whenever there is an urban Naxals and they basically engage in highlighting the Naxals as a warriors, then basically it is posing a challenge to the government that how they can address the Naxali or Naxalism. Okay. The third thing is communalism. Now you can relate the rise of communalism with the 2011 London riots. Then in India also you can talk about Muzaffarnagar riots. Everything is related to the use of social media, use of morphed YouTube video, that how it is creating the enmity between the different groups. Understood? Abhi simple सा example है, the SMS. The SMS which were sent to the numerous people were blamed for the rumor mongering during the Assam unrest. So basically, the social media are being used for inciting the communal casteist violence. ओके, अब तुम देख लो, छोटा सा कोई प्रोटेस्ट हो रहा है, गुज्जर प्रोटेस्ट एंड द जाट प्रोटेस्ट, मराठास प्रोटेस्ट, all the protests are suddenly erupting into, or are suddenly actually resulting into of high intensity protest. Why it is happening? It is because of the social media. It becomes very easy for the people to call the people, to gather the people by inciting their inner voice. So these are the things which you can mention in your answer, and you can address the very first part, that how it is a security threat. Now the second thing which you need to talk about is the social media should be used as an opportunity by the police or by the law enforcement agencies. So we will look into that also, that how it is being used by the police officers. Now the very first thing is social media lab project. Social media lab project. In May 2013, Maharashtra police took the first initiative by setting the pilot project. Basically, this is a pilot project of Maharashtra government. Okay, and how they are handling or how they are using the social media to check any misuse of the social media itself. Second is Karnataka police. Karnataka police have a CID page on the Facebook. CID page on the Facebook. Help Karnataka CID page. So basically, whenever you look into any kind of mishappenings, any kind of regions that may erupt into any kind of security threats, then you can just upload at the CID page, that is Help Karnataka CID page. And also, Karnataka police is using the social media for traffic management. Basically, traffic management is not a very big issue where it is related to internal security. Then you can talk about the Kerala police. Kerala police. Then we have a project like Cyber Dome project, where there is a predictive analysis that what is the movement of the criminals, or what is the movement of the preparators, and how they have gathered, or how they have basically incited the mob and resulting into the mob violence. Basically, everything is being done through the predictive modeling. So in this way, the law enforcement agencies is also using the social media as an opportunity. So now the last part is that also discuss the intermediaries guidelines rule and how it will help. So very first thing which you need to know, that what is in the draft amendment rule 2018. The very first thing is prohibited categories. Second thing is removal of content. Third thing is registered physical presence. Physical appearance or presence. And fourth thing is assistance. So now we will look into each and every element. The first is prohibited categories. The rules require that each intermediary must publish terms of use. These terms of use are required to prohibit the user from hosting certain content. User should not host the content which is malicious, the content which may result into certain kind of violence. So basically, this is the responsibility of the intermediaries. Removal of content. Now, the draft rule says that the removal must be done within 24 hours. Third part is assistance. If the government needs any kind of assistance from the intermediaries, they must provide assistance within 72 hours. Next is registered physical appearance. Registered physical appearance simply means that certain industries with more than 50 lakh users must have permanent office in India and they will be registered under the Companies Act 2013. तो बेसिकली जब तुमने ये लिख दिया तो ऑब्वियसली व्हेन देयर इज a removal of the content within 24 hours, when the government is being assisted by the intermediaries, obviously it will help in checking the spread of the propaganda, the spread of the fake news, the spread of the hate speeches. Everything will get controlled. In this way, it will check the internal security threats. Now, moving to the next question, that is the Indian Ocean region has seen a gradual increase in the terms of its strategic significance. In such context, critically analyze the role of Navy and maritime preparedness of India. In this question, first of all, you need to talk about the geostrategic significance of the Indian Ocean. Now, under this head, you can talk about the political and economic importance of Indian Ocean along with its strategic importance. Under this head, you can talk about that. First point, you can write that it is the home to world's busiest waterways and the choke point such as Suez Canal, Bab el Mandab, Bab el Mandeb, Strait of Hormuz, and Strait of Malacca. So basically, these are the choke points in the Indian Ocean, and all the choke points and waterways are highly important for the rising nations of the world. Then the second point which you can mention here, more of the, or you can say more than half of the world's armed conflicts are presently located in the Indian Ocean region. Armed conflicts present in this region. Third, you can talk about that the Indian Ocean is also a home of the competing rise between India and China. Then, second thing you can talk about the potential nuclear confrontation between India and Pakistan can be visible in the Indian Ocean. Then, also you can talk about the US intervention in this region and growing incidence of the piracy, and therefore we need anti-piracy cooperation between the different countries. Then you can also talk about that there is a growth in the expansion of the maritime forces in the region, and you can also talk about that the naval bases which are present in the Indian Ocean, and then you can talk about Diego Garcia along with the France naval bases in Djibouti, Reunion, and Abu Dhabi can be talked under the geostrategic importance. And then you can say that the combination of economic growth, military expansion, and increasing demand for the natural region highlights the geopolitical and the geostrategic significance of the Indian Ocean region. But just by putting all the points under the head of geostrategic, the first part of the question is addressed. Now, the second part of the question is about the role of Navy and maritime preparedness. Now, in this context, I just want to add that Navy has one philosophy, that is mission based deployment philosophy. Mission based deployment policy philosophy of 2017. Basically, According to this philosophy, it ensures the availability of warships in 7 to 8 critical areas of the Indian Ocean. Okay, there is basically a continuous basis. On the continuous basis, they are providing the response to any kind of contingency in the Indian Ocean region. And under this concept of mission based deployment, Navy now maintains the SEAP at every choke point. That choke point which we are talking about, that the Strait of Malacca, Suez Canal, Bab el Mandeb, everywhere the Navy has put their ships. And the reasons behind the deployment of the warships is not only about the growing tension with the China, but it is also about the humanitarian assistance in the terms of natural disaster. Then, in order to look into anti-piracy operation and anti-smuggling activities which are going into the Indian Ocean, and some of the missions of the Indian Navy can be mentioned here. For example, Operation Maldeep in the Andaman Sea, Operation Nordep in the Bay of Bengal, Operation Scent Dip in Indian Ocean region. These are the things which is reflecting the maritime preparedness of India in this region. And also, along with this, it is not that only where a maritime preparedness is being reflected in the terms of deployment of the ships and the operations which the Navy is carrying on. Except this, we can look into our maritime preparedness from the perspective that how we are cooperating with the littoral countries of the Indian Ocean region. And then you can look into the fact that we have a lot of engagements or we have a lot of engagements with the Maldives, Seychelles, Mauritius, and Agalega Island, Assumption Island of Mauritius. There is an agreement between the countries so that India can use these islands. And along with this, there is also a continuous exercise which in which India is participating, for example, Malabar. Then you can talk about that there is also a search and rescue operation which is going on in the Indian Ocean by the Navy. Then you can talk about the Navy also undertakes joint exclusive economic zone surveillance in the region. Now, these are the things which can be mentioned under the maritime preparedness and the role of Navy in this region. And then in the conclusion, you can say that the Indian Ocean is an ocean of economic opportunities, and therefore the growing interest of the major powers and the Chinese infrastructure projects in the region create create an imperative for India to limit the military maritime activity of external power in the region. So these are the things which can be mentioned in this question. Now the next question is, in the wake of Chandrayaan, India is looking forward to launch a manned space mission in future. Briefly mention its significance and challenges that could be encountered by ISRO in the conquest of such mission. So basically, this question is asking about Gaganyaan. Then in the Gaganyaan, what the ISRO is thinking of that the Indian astronauts should be in the space by 2022, and it is scheduled to launch with the powerful GSLV Mach 3 rocket by 2022. And the main objective of the unmanned space mission is, or you can say, the objective of the Gaganyaan mission is technology demonstration. And in this program, 60 to 70% of the components and the value added services is from the Indian industries. This can be put in your introduction. And then, in the terms of significance, you can say first, that is, it will help in enhancement of science and technology. Second, it is involving academics or academicians plus different institutes plus industry. And then ISRO is telling that it will provide employment to approximately 1500 people, and then it will also inspire youth to get into the scientific activities, to get into more into the scientific approach. And then you can talk about that it will also spur research and development. Then the last point which you can mention here is that such kind of project leads to international collaboration. Understood? Now, after putting the significance, the next important point is what are the challenges that can be faced by this manned mission in the future. Then the challenges can be divided into the what challenges the astronauts will face, and second is what challenges in the terms of technology can be faced in such mission. Now in the terms of astronauts, we can say that it will lead to some kinds of hazardous to their health. So how it will be done? First of all, I will talk about the pressure, and we all know that the human blood starts boiling if there is no pressure, and in the space there will be a lack of pressure and it will increase the boiling of the human blood. Second problem is of microgravity. Microgravity simply means that when there is a transition from one gravity field to another gravity field, then it basically affects hand or head and eye combination, and this hand or head eye combination will get impacted, and this will result into the loss of aerobic activity. It will also lead to decrease in bone and weight density. Then the third problem which the astronaut can face is of a space environment is hostile, and when there is a lack of gravity, and there is also a danger of radiation. These are the things which can be mentioned in the terms of challenges of the manned space mission. Then the second thing is what are the challenges in the terms of technology can be faced by this mission. Then the first point which we can talk under this head is launch escape system. What is this? But first of all, we will look into that why do we need launch escape system. If we want to maintain or if we want to get success in this project, then we will have to go for the launch escape system. Basically what happens that when the space flight, actually a space flight requires much higher velocities, they require more velocity than air transportation, which simply means air flight, which in turn requires high energy density propellants. This require high energy density propellants. And basically, whenever there is a requirement of high energy density propellants, this results into dissipation of large amount of energy. And to check the dissipation of energy, we need a launch escape system. Understood? So these are the challenges which can be mentioned in this answer because the question is asking about the challenges. Okay. Now the next question is about what is meant by radicalization and what are its type, and does India deal with radicalization? How does India deal with radicalization? So we will go into the definition of radicalization. Basically radicalization simply means that it is the process of individual transformation from a moderate and law abiding citizen into hostile, anti-state and violent extremist. Then you can say that that person is radicalized. Next, what are the types of radicalization? The types of radicalization ranges from right-wing extremism to left-wing extremism, and then you can also add here politico-religious extremism. And nowadays internet is also basically aiding in radicalizing the youth, So you can say that the another type of the radicalization is internet radicalization. So right wing radicalization is simply deny, or you can say it is simply means that the violent defense of a racial, ethnic or pseudo national identity. You have always looked into the right wing ideology that it is based on national identity or nationalism. Some of are the view, and also yes, it happens that sometimes it is a kind of pseudo nationalism, and in the disguise of nationalism you are promoting some kind of extremism. And the best example of right wing extremism is Ku Klux group in USA. जोश में आके बीजेपी और आरएसएस मत लिख देना एग्जाम में. Ku Klux group in USA. Then it is a left wing extremism. It's simply focusing upon the anti capitalist demand and calls for the transformation of the political system. And best example is Naxalism in India. And the third is politico religious extremism. It results from political interpretation of the religion. For example, ISIS. Okay, ISIS, what they are doing? They are using Islam as an alibi. So basically, they don't understand that what is the content of the Islam. Rather than understanding that what is the context, they are basically reading between the lines only. Okay, then the next is internet radicalization. Internet radicalization simply means that internet is being used by terrorists to advocate the use of violence to further their religious ideological doctrine. So these are the things which you can mention under the head that what are the types of radicalization. And next part is how India is dealing with radicalization. We all know that India is dealing with radicalization by strengthening its institution, and also by providing the door to door service in the madrasa, by also infusing education in the community which is on the verge of radicalization. There is also a focus upon the central agencies and their role. For example, how the India is dealing with this radicalization, you can say that India is focusing upon the cause of radicalization. What is the cause of radicalization? It has been understood that the cause of radicalization is poverty, deprivation, isolation. So these are the cause of radicalization, and therefore we are focusing upon the development of the youth. Okay, and also we are focusing upon the madrasa modernization program. In checking the radicalization, we have set up a hotline in the Ministry of Home Affairs. Whenever you think that your neighbor or your fellow man, your relatives are radicalized or are on the verge of radicalization, you can contact to this hotline. Also in the Maharashtra government have started working with the head of the mosque so that they can implement some of the schemes for the youth so that they don't get radicalized. These are the things which can be mentioned under the head of how India is dealing with radicalization. Now moving to the next question, that is discuss the emerging internal threats that India is facing amid globalization. Now, in this question, you will have to focus upon the word globalization, and then it is very easy for you to relate the entire internal threats with respect to the globalization. For example, when you understand the term globalization means opening of border, and opening of border does not mean that the border will open for the economy or for the movement of goods and services only. Opening of the border also means that the movement of arms and ammunition. Then you can talk about opening of border will give rise to trafficking. Then you can talk about the movement of drug, and here you can also mention golden triangle, golden crescent. Then you can talk about fake currency notes. It is being said that the globalization is the brainchild of terrorism, and but you need to talk about the internal threats, then you can talk about that how arms and ammunition, because of the globalization there is an easy flow of arms and ammunition that is helping the Naxalism, that is also helping the Azad Kashmir. They are also focusing, you can talk about that how India is the source and destination of the trafficking, how the girls are being trafficked from Nepal through West Bengal to Delhi. And then in the terms of drug, you can talk about that how it is moving from Afghanistan to Chittagong in Bangladesh and then to India. And in this question, this you can easily get marks if you draw the map of the country, and then you can link the things that how the border movement and how the opening of the border is emerging into the internal threats. This question is very simple. You just need to open these five different dimensions and that answer is almost completed. Actually, this question number 8, is very much from the application point of view, but you will have to talk about the compulsory licensing and then only you can relate it with the pandemic of the COVID-19. So, first of all, you should know that what is compulsory licensing. Compulsory licensing simply means that the government is allowing the third parties to produce and market the patented product. जैसे मान लो कि कोई एक कंपनी है जिसके पास पेटेंट है एक्स ड्रग की, लेकिन गवर्नमेंट कैन give the or can allow the third parties for the production and the marketing of this patented X drug. But it cannot be done in all the circumstances. It is not universal in the nature. It can be done under only three heads, or you can say only under three circumstances. Now, any time after the 3 years from date of scaling of the patent, मतलब तुम्हें जब पेटेंट मिल गया उसके बाद 3 साल के बाद, if government thinks that the reasonable requirement of the public is not satisfied, reasonable requirement of public is not satisfied. Second is the drug is not available at reasonable rate. Drug is not available at reasonable rate. And the third is patented invention are not carried out in India. Patented invention is not carried in India. These are the three circumstances in which the government can allow for the compulsory licensing. But why this question has been asked, you need to mention and to talk about this in your answer, that the government has, or you can say the question has been asked, it is because of the recent drug which is of too much significance in the COVID-19, that is remdesivir drug. Okay, अब देखो, recently it is being suggested to the government that the government should use the compulsory licensing for the manufacturing of generic version of remdesivir, because WHO has said that the remdesivir can treat the COVID-19. और just इतना सुनना था मिस्टर ट्रम्प का. What Mr. Trump did, that he has maintained the USA, he has maintained the stock for the 3 months for USA. अब देखो, इस कंडीशन में तो कंपलसरी लाइसेंसिंग देना पड़ेगा ना, क्योंकि पैंडेमिक है और कोई कंट्री क्या कर रही है, स्टॉक रख ले रही है, तो फिर देना पड़ेगा कंपलसरी लाइसेंसिंग, और यही उसका सिग्निफिकेंस है जो तुम्हें बात करना है. लेकिन इस समय रेमडेसिविर ने, a big heart has been shown by remdesivir, and what remdesivir did, that according to Gilead Science, the company है, Gilead Science ने क्या किया, it has announced to sign the voluntary agreement. It has signed the voluntary agreement, or you can say patent licensing agreement. Patent licensing agreement with 4 Indian pharma companies. अब क्या हुआ, 4 इंडियन फार्मा कंपनी से गिलियड साइंस ने बोला कि हमने एक लाइसेंसिंग एग्रीमेंट साइन कर लिया है, और इस एग्रीमेंट के अकॉर्डिंग जिसको हमने लाइसेंस दिया है, they can manufacture and sell the drug remdesivir. But this license that they are getting is for only till the pandemic continues. It doesn't matter. It is very good initiative that they are telling that it can be done in the time of pandemic. However, if they would not have been agreed, then the government have always the compulsory licensing in the Indian Patent Act 2005. According to that, government can go for the compulsory licensing. These are the things which need to be addressed in this answer. Next question is quantum supremacy has been in the news after the Google that it has achieved a breakthrough in the quantum computing. Google ने announce किया कि it has achieved the breakthrough in quantum computing. What do you understand by quantum computing and discuss its application? First of all, what do you understand by quantum supremacy? Quantum supremacy कुछ नहीं है. This is the term coined by John Presil in 2011. Quantum supremacy simply means that it refers to problem solving process by the quantum computer. मतलब कोई भी प्रॉब्लम को तुमने क्वांटम कंप्यूटर का यूज करके सॉल्व कर लिया तो उसको क्वांटम सुपरमेसी कहते हैं. और बेसिकली क्वांटम सुपरमेसी डिपेंड करता है कि तुम्हारी स्पीड कितनी है. जितना ज्यादा स्पीड होगा कंप्यूटर का उतना आसानी से कोई भी प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व हो जाएगा. तो जो कन्वेंशनल हमारी कंप्यूटर्स हैं उनकी स्पीड उतनी नहीं होती है एज कंपेयर टू क्वांटम कंप्यूटर. व्हाई? बिकॉज द कन्वेंशनल कंप्यूटर यूजेस द बाइनरी नंबर्स 1 and 0. स्विच है बेसिकली, एक बार 1 एक बार 0. लेकिन क्वांटम कंप्यूटिंग यूजेस द क्यूबिट्स. दिस इज ऑल्सो 1 and 0. बट द डिफरेंस हियर इज that the quantum computing works through two different principles. The first principle is superposition and second principle is entanglement. अब ये दोनों चीज होते क्या है ये सुपरपोजिशन एंड इंटेंजलमेंट बताता हूं ये तुम्हें. सुपरमेशी एंड इंटेंजलमेंट. नाउ सुपरमेशी, each qubit can represent 1 and 0 at the same time. देखो क्या होता है बाइनरी वाले में, क्या होता है एक बार 1 दूसरे बार 0, एक बार 1 दूसरे बार 0. लेकिन इसमें क्या होता है सुपरपोजिशन इसको कहते हैं. सॉरी सुपरमेशी नहीं, सुपरपोजिशन. सुपरपोजिशन में क्या होता है कि 1 और 0 वो एट द सेम टाइम एक बार 1 एक बार 0 एक ही बार दिखला देता है. तो इट मीन्स दैट कि स्टेट ऑफ 1 and 0 डिपेंड्स ऑन द स्टेट ऑफ अनदर क्यूबिट. तो इसमें क्या होता है एक ही, जैसे मान लो एक बार 1 दिखाया, दूसरा 0 एक ही टाइम पे दिखा दिया, फिर जब ये 1 दिखाया तो उसी समय पहला वाला 0 दिखा दिया. तो एट द सेम टाइम तुमको 1 और 0 दोनों मिल रहा है. तो जो 1 और 0 एट द सेम टाइम हो रहा है उसको सुपरपोजिशन कहते हैं. और एक का स्टेट दूसरे के स्टेट पे डिपेंड होता है. जैसे मतलब ये 0 है तो ये 1 है, ये 1 है तो 0 है. इसी को इंटेंजलमेंट कहते हैं. इसका सिंपल मतलब है कि particles will remain connected so that actions performed on one effect on the another. अगर मैं यहां पे कोई फंक्शन करता हूं वो एक साथ हो रहा है 0 और 1 तो उसका इंपैक्ट यहां भी दिखेगा, तो स्पीड बढ़ जाएगी. ये तुम्हें बेसिकली बताना है इसका क्वांटम कंप्यूटिंग होता क्या है, उसमें तुम ये बात कर सकते हो. सेकेंड इज व्हाट आर द एप्लीकेशंस ऑफ द क्वांटम कंप्यूटिंग. हियर यू कैन टॉक अबाउट the first application of quantum computing can be seen in the artificial intelligence. देखो आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस क्या करता है, बिग डेटा को मैनेज करता है. एंड बिग डेटा को मैनेज करने के लिए स्पीड हाई चाहिए, तो यहाँ पे क्वांटम कंप्यूटिंग का एप्लीकेशन है. सेकंड है इसमें पॉइंट कि कंप्यूटेशनल केमिस्ट्री. जो तुम्हारा कन्वेंशनल कंप्यूटर है वो क्या करता है ना, वनली सिंपल मॉलिक्यूल को एनालाइज करता है, लेकिन कॉम्प्लेक्स मॉलिक्यूल को एनालाइज केवल क्वांटम कंप्यूटर ही कर सकता है. थर्ड थिंग यू कैन टॉक अबाउट द एप्लीकेशन ऑफ क्वांटम कंप्यूटिंग इन फाइनेंशियल सर्विस. जैसे रिस्क मैनेजमेंट है, फाइनेंशियल मॉडलिंग है, उसमें जरूरत पड़ता है. नेक्स्ट एप्लीकेशन यू कैन टॉक अबाउट क्रिप्टोग्राफी मैप्स में. And the last one is weather forecasting. वेदर फॉरकास्टिंग क्या होता है? वेदर फॉरकास्टिंग तुम्हारा पहले वाले से भी हो जाएगा, लेकिन इससे फास्ट होता है और एक्यूरेट होता है. तो ये सारे एप्लीकेशंस हैं उसके दैट कैन बी रिटन हियर. नाउ द लास्ट क्वेश्चन इज जीन एडिटिंग रूल्स हैव बीन led elaborately after a researcher in China used CRISPR CSA9 to modify the particular gene. अब इसमें तुम्हें बताना है कि what do you understand by gene editing. तो basically gene editing कुछ नहीं है, it is a group of technology that gives scientists the ability to change a DNA. बस ये important है तुम्हें जानना. Changing in DNA is called gene editing. अब देखो इस होता कैसे तुम चेंज कर सकते हो. Basically these techniques or technology allow the genetic materials to be added, to be subtracted or removed, to be altered in order to get the gene or genome editing. Or several approaches are there, or several technology are there. One of the technology is CRISPR technology or Cas9, that is the protein. Okay, तो बेसिकली ये कैसे काम करता है. इट बिहेव्स लाइक ए कट एंड पेस्ट मैकेनिज्म. अब देखो, अब कोई डीएनए का स्ट्रैंड है, एक डीएनए है ये. अब इस डीएनए में दूसरा डीएनए का एक जेनेटिक मटेरियल डालना है या इस जेनेटिक मटेरियल को निकालना है, तो दैट कैन बी डन बाय Cas9 बिकॉज Cas9 एक्ट्स लाइक ए सीजर. और वो क्या करेगा, मान लो ये पार्ट का तुम्हें जरूरत है तो उसको कट कर देगा और इस पर इंपोज कर देगा. दिस इज कॉल्ड जीन एडिटिंग. ये ऑल्टर हो जाएगा. ओके, नाउ व्हाट आर द चैलेंजेस इन द जीन एडिटिंग. अब देखते हैं चैलेंजेस क्या है जीन एडिटिंग में. Now the very first challenge in the gene editing is first, it encodes protein that allow HIV to enter and infect the cells. कभी कभी क्या होता है कि कटिंग के समय और ऑल्टरिंग के समय HIV इंटर कर जाता है और वो सेल को इन्फेक्ट कर देता है. सेकेंड है कि कोई गाइडलाइंस नहीं है, देयर इज नो एनी रेगुलेशन टू लुक इनटू द जीन एडिटिंग. थर्ड इज साइंटिस्ट खुद ही बोलते हैं कि Cas9 जो है इट शुड नॉट बी यूज क्लिनिकली इन एम्ब्रॉयज. इसका मतलब है कि दे आर ऑल्सो स्केप्टिकल अबाउट द यूज ऑफ CASN. ओके, एंड देन sometimes what happen that altering the one gene could have unforeseen and widespread impact on the another gene. Last one is क्या होगा कि मान लो कि इट बिकम्स ए टूल फॉर सेलेक्टिंग डिजायर्ड कैरेक्टरिस्टिक. मान लो किसी का इंटेलिजेंस तुमको अच्छा लग रहा है, तुम एलोन मस्क बनना चाहते हो, तो उसका वो वाला जिन निकाल लो, ठीक है. या फिर तुमको शाहरुख खान बनना है तो इसका जिन निकाल लो और एक्टिंग सीख लो, ठीक है. तो इस तरीके से किसी का मान लो कि अट्रैक्टिवनेस होता है, कोई अट्रैक्ट है, बहुत अट्रैक्टिव है, तो इफ यू वांट टू गेट दैट जीन सो दैट यू कैन आल्सो बिकम अट्रैक्टिव, तो दैट यू कैन गो फॉर दैट. तो बेसिकली क्या हो रहा है, ये इट इज ए टूल फॉर सेलेक्टिंग द डिजायर्ड कैरेक्टरिस्टिक. तो ये तो बिल्कुल गलत है ना, जो भगवान दिए उसमें खुश रहो, ठीक है. तो दिस इज ऑल अबाउट द डिस्कशन ऑफ द GS पेपर 6 एंड आई होप that you have done well in the ethics paper, that is the paper 1 of the ethics we have conducted today, and the video for that also will come into in the next 2 or 3 days. So thanks a lot